Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Friday. I hope it finds you well. Friday, baby. Yeah, that means it's almost time for the weekend. Congratulations to the Nuggets. Apparently, that time off did not affect them as they handled business. I will say I didn't watch it, but in between things that I was doing, I would check in. You know, I'd check in, see how it was going. Denver controlled that game from the get-go. But I will say this. People were fired up. That crowd was definitely rocking. I think the Nuggets got this thing in hand. I really do. They look like the better team, and I know this is the first time that the Nuggets are in the finals. So that's always exciting. I remember when the Diamondbacks went to the finals. Obviously the Suns, we were in the finals a few years ago. It's always exciting to see that. So for all you Nugget fans out there, that was the only thing I was really worried about. I'm like, wow, because they swept the Lakers and then the Celtics and the Heat went 7. I'm like, man, they haven't played in a few weeks. Maybe that's going to be a problem. Jason, wasn't a problem.
It was a problem for the Rockies. I was worried about the Celtics winning because I remember when the Rockies made their World Series run. It was that magical run, winning 22 out of 23, and then they swept all the playoff series, I think, going in, and so they swept in 4. Well, the Indians, I know they're not called the Indians anymore, but the Indians and the Red Sox, it was 3-1 Indians. And the Boston team came back and won that series and then swept the Rockies. So I was like, I wonder if the Celtics are going to do the same thing to the Nuggets.
Well, the Heat, because the Heat were beat the Celtics, yeah. So very interesting, but that didn't seem to be a problem. So they're off to a good start. We'll see how that plays out. But it is Friday, 800-951-0592. AllAmericanGold.com is the website. And, man, it was all about the jobs number today, and it was a big one. So, and again, right, we keep getting this data, no rate hike data, rate hike. The headline number screams more rate. Matter of fact, it doesn't scream one more rate. This screams like, hey, there's going to be multiple rate hikes, and then all kinds of weird information coming out after the number, because 300, according to the government, 339,000 jobs created in the month of May, which was way above. I think, Jason, the number was 190,000. This was above anybody's high estimate, and the couple of weird things, because you got to remember now there's 2 different reports that combine into the jobs number. So this is the government side, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They give you, hey, this is how many jobs were created. Right? That's them. But then you get the unemployment rate from the household survey. And this is where things got very, very, very interesting in, I guess, the details of that jobs number, and it really is. It's a complex problem when we look at these headlines, because the headline numbers was out of this world. But then in the household survey, what the household survey said was, hey, we weren't creating any new jobs, at least not for native born, and that most of the jobs that were created in this jobs report were people that already had a job getting another job. In other words, and not leaving their job. They had to get a second job. A lot of them, this was actually job number 3. But it really was. It's a complicated problem. I don't know where this number really lies. It makes sense to me that we have a lot of people in order to pay the bills, and right, there's no more free money out there, that they're going to have to go out there and have to work 2 or 3 jobs. But the household survey, the unemployment rate went up from 3.5 to 3.7, and you're like, wait a minute, we created almost 350,000 jobs, and yet they're saying the unemployment rate went up. And Jason, this is kind of the big divergence in the number. The headline number smoking hot, then in the details, everyone's kind of left going, well, okay, which one is it, right? Is the household survey wrong? Is the government wrong? Or, and I think I think they're both right. I absolutely do. I think there are millions and millions of people having to work multiple jobs. One of the things that was really interesting in the household survey, native-born workers, no new jobs, none. Foreign-born workers, all-time record high. And I'm wondering, is that a lot of these illegals coming over the border? I mean, it can't just be the H-1B1 visa workers, but foreign-born workers at a new all-time high in this report.
Yeah, Joe, I think there's a lot of factors to more jobs being created to help pay the bills. You said multiple jobs, but I think there's some people with first-time jobs. Kids getting out of high school, maybe I won't go to college this year. We can't pay the bills here. I'll stay home and work and help these bills that we seem to be short on. So there's a lot of this kind of stuff going on. So I think there was people that were sitting on their butts not working, and now they have to work. And this swell of jobs that I think is coming, Joe, it will subside at one point. At one point, those jobs, no matter how much they want them, aren't going to be there. And then you'll get that recession or that depression that's heading our way.
It's created quite an interesting topic. Patriot Radio News Hour will be back after the break. Eight 800-951-0592, Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Friday, wrapping up the week here. Quick look at the markets. The Dow, which has been having a tough couple of weeks, doing what the Dow does, up 550 points. The S&P's up 35. The Nasdaq's up 120. Gold's down 1965. Silver's down 15 cents, $23.85. If you're like, man, you know what? I don't know. Tired of the nonsense. I just all of this data conflicts the other. It's time for me to check out and do something different with my money. We've talked about it now. We're about 3 years in where the Dow is basically at 33,000, right? And everyone's really waiting for the Fed to break things with more rate hikes. Maybe you want to check out our good friends over at YRefi. It's not correlated to Wall Street. Doesn't care. Doesn't care about jobs number. Hey, it doesn't care if native-born workers didn't get any jobs. They don't care if the foreigners are doing all the work. They don't care about rate hikes. Great fixed rates of returns. Wouldn't it be nice to not have to? How many times have you not looked? Hey, I don't even want to look at my 401k or my IRA statement. I don't even want to look at it because I know it's going to be ugly. You don't have that issue with YRefi. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com, or call them at 888-YRefi24. 888-YRefi24. So, let's go back into the data. The headline number, huge, 339,000. The problem was the household survey said the opposite, right? They said that employment tumbled by 310,000. It's kind of weird that they're almost identical, right? Hey, the government says we gained. The household said, no, we didn't. And really that could simply be the amount of people getting part-time work, getting a second or third job doubled, while other people just flat out lost their jobs. Now, I'm tracking my 3 friends. Remember, I've got a golf group. There's 12 of us, and I told you, in the last 6 weeks now, 3 of them have been let go, and this was just layoffs. None of them have a job yet, and they're all native-born workers, right? But there's been a few interviews, but no jobs yet. I'll keep you posted. Now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they did say that native-born workers dropped by 369,000 in this month. That's weird, right? Wait a minute. You said we created 339,000 jobs, and yet native-born workers lost 369,000 jobs, which kind of correlates to what the household survey said, right? The household survey said, hey, there's 310,000 less jobs, which is why the unemployment rate went up. But here's what they said. The number of foreign-born workers rose by almost the same amount. The native-born workers now, 130,744,000. That is about the exact same as before COVID. So go back to 2019. That number really hasn't changed. Matter of fact, that number also is pretty much right where it was in January. So, Jason, the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is saying that, for native-born workers, the employment rate, the amount of people employed has remained the same. All the growth has been in the foreign-born workers, which now totals 30,359,000 foreign-born workers being employed. And I'm guessing here. I know that a lot of them are H-1B1 visa workers, but I'm imagining the influx at the border. A lot of these people are working, it looks like.
Yeah, Joe, and I mentioned it yesterday, and I think with foreign workers, it more than pertains to what we're talking, because you have job gains in that category and job losses in domestic, native workers. I said yesterday, I think a lot of businesses are shaving workers and putting somebody lower paid in that position. So, of course, foreign workers, that's a very easy one to do, because a lot of foreign workers, they live in a lower standard of living housing. Maybe they might be sharing the housing costs with several families and things of this nature. And so that the only way to get someone to work for less money is somebody that's working, has a lower standard of living. So you have the guy that's, let's just say, the McDonald's manager. Well, the base manager. I'm not talking about the general manager or the guy that's the franchise manager. The guy that's just kind of overseeing several shifts a week over that restaurant. He might be getting $22 an hour or $25 an hour. I don't know. I don't know what they're paying managers, first level managers. If you got somebody, really all the manager at McDonald's does essentially is he knows how to run the entire store, all the different places. He's the experienced guy. He knows how to run all the stations. Well, if you have somebody else that's been there a while, it could do all that, and they're earning, $17 an hour. You say, hey, I'll make you the manager. We're going to move this other guy somewhere else, and we'll pay you $19. Well, you got a $22 or $25 an hour guy, you get rid of that, you put the $19 an hour guy, and I think this is going on all over the place, Joe. This is, I think, why you see the job gains and the job losses at the same time. I think foreign workers is a major part of it, but I think even with native workers, Joe, your friends, they might have been axed just for a cheaper white guy, so to speak, right?
Well, I'll say this. I know one of them was. Absolutely that was absolutely the case. But when we're looking at this, and again, I'm looking for the birth-death model jobs. I'm not able to find it. We'll probably learn that on Monday. But, yeah, there was a lot in this report that leaves you scratching your head. The hours worked fell a little bit, which obviously that plays into people working part-time, multiple part-time jobs. But nonetheless, that was the number, right? You can't do anything. The number is what they say it is. They also went back and added 93,000 jobs to the March and April numbers, total of 93 between the revised both of those months higher. And right now we have a very interesting dynamic playing out ever since COVID, which kind of just tells you something's not right. The divergence between the household survey and the Bureau of Labor Statistics jobs number hit a new all-time record high. And again, I think they both could be right, Jason. I really do. I think that I have no doubt that tons of people are working 2 and 3 jobs. I have no doubt that foreign-born workers are working at the highest levels. And I also have no doubt that certain jobs, the layoffs are happening, and those people aren't finding work. So I think, the reason the unemployment rate shot up is because those people, hey, I lost my job, and I'm not able to get another one. And of course, my 3 friends, not that it matters, but it's worth noting, they're all college graduates. They all got their degrees right there. They're well-educated. And, Jason, they're having a hard time finding work.
Yeah, it's where college or no college, you need to figure out your importance in the world you're in. And you better be honest, because if you're replaceable or very easily replaceable, you better make yourself not replaceable or very hard to replace. Because it doesn't matter if you're the $200,000 exec that could just be replaced, or if you're the little McDonald's manager at $22 an hour, you'll get replaced if there's a cheaper way to replace you. These businesses, for better or for worse, where you get mad at the corporations or not, they have to make money or they don't exist. That McDonald's shuts down if it doesn't make money. So if it has to cut employment costs, it will do so. That's just no matter how much the television, the liberal media, and everything try to tell you how we need to be in a utopian world where everybody works together. When it comes to business, unfortunately, no matter how woke some of these businesses are going, if the bills aren't getting paid, things get shut down. And that's happening right now. That's happening right now.
What a great way to fight inflation.
Yeah.
If I can take a guy that's making $150,000 a year, and I can replace him with somebody that's making $75,000 a year, right? That's just a great way to combat inflation. We'll have to see. And again, this number much higher. Let's not kid ourselves. Much higher than the Federal Reserve wanted. I know Metzer, she is a voting member. She was out saying, I see no reason to pause rate hikes, Jason. And right now, when we look at all the economic data out, at least this week, I agree with her. There's no reason to pause. Remember, the 2 mandates that they have, just looking at the mandates. Mandate number 1, stable prices. They don't have that, right? We've got way too much inflation. Mandate number 2, full employment. Well, even here, this was a high number, 3.7. Right? That's way below average, right? Anything under 5 is considered good. Anything under 4 is considered unsustainable, right? As a matter of fact, they don't like the number that low because that means it's going to be inflationary, so they need that number to get higher. Based on those 2 metrics, Jason, they should absolutely raise rates. Here's the problem. Them raising rates hurts more banks again, right? Those raising rates, I mean, it's amazing the predicament that they're in. Damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Well, I'll say this. The job gains probably is a much stronger indication of the inflation. They can't have tons of job gains. That just what you just mapped out. It just shows the inflation. So you can't ease back on inflation if all these businesses are scaling back their employment cost by firing people and putting new people in place. It's when they fire people and don't replace them that they can consider pausing, right, Joe? So the job losses on Thursdays obviously will tell you when they need to probably stop. But more importantly, they got to see the job gains stop because, if they're still employing and going full steam, then, well, that means inflation is still running. And with this new deal for the government to go spend more money, who knows how hot inflation can still be running here in the next 6 months, year, 2 years.
I'm going to say this. I think you're right. The Thursday jobless claims number way too low. Now, when we got that 260 number, we thought, okay, here we got something. And then, of course, oh, wait, Massachusetts had fraud and it screwed it all over. The real number is about 230. That's not high enough. I mean, it's higher than what it was. right? You go back to January, February. There was a lot of weeks where that number was below 200,000, right? So 230 is higher, but Jason, not high enough. Absolutely, I think there's unfortunately they have to pause. They need to pause. I don't think they can. The data is not working in their favor. But it'll be interesting. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll know here in a couple of weeks what's going to happen. But as an example, so the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they released a bunch of data. And one of the things that caught my eye was they released inflation data for some items going back to 1977. So 1977, I was like 7, right? I'm 7 years old in 1977. And they did it for snacks. Now, who doesn't like snacks, right? I love snacks, right? You know, you're thinking Frito-Lay, right? Potato chips and candy bars. And it was so funny because my wife and we were talking in the car the other day when, and she said, I remember when candy bars were like 33 cents. And I kind of laughed. I said, well, I remember when they were 15 cents, right? Of course, now a candy bar, $1.79. We'll be back.